Hello everyone, and how are you doing? My name is Alex, and this is a quick devlog of the game, 2D platformer game I'm making called Carrot Girl, and I'm using GDevelop. Now I've used GDevelop for this is my fifth day of using GDevelop, and initially it was frustrating, but I began to understand the game engine a little bit. So let's quickly jump over, and I'll just press preview, and I'll show you what we're working with right now. So I have this patrolling enemy right here who is going to kind of like change directions, flip direction, and there's a force on this enemy when he reaches these two edges. So another thing you actually notice is the GUI here. We have the carrot, so if I jump and get that carrot, you will actually see that update. Another thing we have actually implemented is the particle system. So I actually have a particle system emitted, especially when I just start walking like so. I am actually going to create a particle system that is going to be generated each time she walks around, but it always spawns each time she jumps, right? So we can actually see that, and it's been created just right where I have this green square. So what I've done is actually go ahead and pinned that green square to this spawn location, and I'm actually spawning that game object. And you'd actually notice this barrier right here. I set it to be a little bit transparent so our player can actually walk around these bounds. Now this tile right here is actually a tile map, so I can basically stretch this artwork right here, but I actually have a collider which I have set to be slightly lower than this ground level so our player can walk over this. And the way I've done this is to set all these GUI elements I want to hide into groups just for debugging right now. I've actually have them open. So let's go ahead and look at our setup right there. So first I'll just go ahead and open our scene. So right here I've also used groups because right from the get-go I want to have my code organized. So I have groups, and within each group I have a comment that tells me what I'm doing in each group. That way everything is organized. This is my first week using it. I don't want to come back after 1 month and I'm totally confused and don't know where things are. So that's why I decided to use this. So what I'm also doing is, you notice if I click preview, this is going to bring out this scene at a specified resolution. So I've set it to 1920 by 1080. I can actually switch over and change it. So let me change this to 640 by 480, like so. If I click on that and I'm click on update, so this is going to update my screen. Let's just get back here, and it hasn't done that. Let me just turn this off and click preview again, so you can actually see this screen. So it's actually a good thing to use, right? So you can actually set your screen size. So another thing I would like to also point out right here is that I'm enforcing camera boundaries. So I've set the boundary right here to the size of this screen. So basically what I'm saying is, if I just zoom out a little bit, sorry my mouse is a bit rusty, I've actually set the boundaries to stop scrolling around here based on the length of this right here. So I just set it to 2000, and it's going to set it to that bounds. So let's go ahead and jump in here. I'm also centering the window, and I'm also I'm not setting now slug to flip. Now this is what is picking up this green square right here that I call spawn point, which is literally this one called spawn point. So I'm actually setting that to the position of my player center X and center Y. So that's just what's happening there. And let's just go over here for the animation. If my player is jumping, I'm going to set the animation to jump, and I'm going to create the object, which is this object called jump dust at this position right here. So it's going to create that at the position of this green square. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this green square here, save the scene, and let's go ahead and click preview. And you can actually see that green square is mapped to our player. So it doesn't matter where that green square is, wherever it is, whenever that scene loads, is going to start up at the foot of the player, and when our player jumps, it's going to spawn a particle. So talking about the particle, let's just go ahead and show you the settings I have for the particle. I'm using the circle and size 2 for the particle type, and I would actually like to use an image, but I'm just so lazy, and I've set the colors to dark gray to a kind of like light gray. I've set the number of particles in tank to 2, and the radius of the emitter, let me just set that to 5. to make it slightly bigger. I don't have gravity on the x-axis because I don't want the particles to be moving to the left or to the right. And for y-axis, I've set this to -10, so it'll be actually spawning the particle down. And I've always said set this to delete when out of particles. So basically that's a rough overview. Now for the enemy, let me just go ahead and show you the enemy. So I'm just going to say enemy movement. So if our enemy is in collision with this left symbol right here, this icon, either left or right, is just an art I called left. And we open up that art and check out the behavior. There's actually no behavior on this, right? There's no behavior on this object as well, but it has a collision, right? So this is the collision, and I've set the collision slightly so that the player or the enemy can actually slightly, go past it a little bit, but that doesn't really matter. Right, so that's basically what's happened there. Let's go back to the events. So we're going to change the text variable direction of our enemy, and I'll switch that to right. I'm setting that to left. I'm going to leave the flipping. I'm only going to set the flipping when it's touched the right arrow button. So like I'm doing right here, I'm flipping it to right, and I'm changing the text direction and setting it to right. So basically what that means is on my enemy, I have two variables, one called left and one called right, and they are object variables, which are variables that are assigned to this object, and I've set it to direction and set it to left and right. Basically it's going to be flipping those. So if it touches the right key, set the direction to left, and if it touches the left, set the direction to right, flip the player, and then add a physics force that will push this player in the right direction. So right here it's actually moving at 40 pixels per second, and then once it switches and hits the left, it's going to flip the player to the left direction at 40 pixels per second. So basically that's it. So for the game score, I'll just do that explanation again, but basically it's a text variable that is assigned to this pickup object right here called score, and I've set it to a number 1. If the player collides with the object, let's just go back to our scene. So if actually our player collides with this object, we're going to set the string variable to a value and then switch that value to +1, like so. So basically that's what's happening here, and this is it right here. Player is in collision with the caret. We're going to delete it and then change the scene variable score. I've set it to 1, so I'm going to add 1 to that, and then right here we're changing the text score and setting that value to caret, and then adding the string data called score, and we're adding 1 to that score right here. So I just switched it over and changed it to caret when it's displaying, because I wanted to show carets right here, and this is on its own layer as well. So if you look at our layers and I click on this caret, it's actually on its own layer right here. So we can actually see that layer. That's where it's set. The caret is set on this layer. So what am I going to do next? I'm going to add a few more particle systems, and then I'm going to create another level, and I also want to use tiled, which is a 2D level creation system that you can use to build levels. So I'll be building that and then moving over to our next level, and what I'm also set to do is to create the enemy death. So basically if our player jumps on the enemy, you can just destroy the enemy and then add a few spawn particles on the enemy. So that's a quick devlog. Sorry it's taking too long, and I'll see you guys next week, and hopefully I've updated this. I'm doing a weekly devlog, so feel free to tell me what you want me to do, or if you have any very good resources where I can learn. Helper Wesley from the team has been helpful. I've seen his videos a lot, and it's actually helped me jumpstart GDevelop. So thank you very much guys, and I'll see you next lesson.